Hello. Let's see. Let's see. Is it working? Is it working? Okay. Okay. There we go. Okay. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Teachable Moments podcast. Now, I thought I'd do this episode. I think, this is the fourth episode, and I figured I'd send it back to form, back to basis, right? I'd start how I started on. I do this one. I do this episode like I started on Anchor, and I'm just talking and reviewing things. There's a lot I want to talk about. We got a short time to do it in, so let's get to it. Welcome to the fourth episode of the Teachable Moments podcast. Well, the newly revised Teachable Moments podcast. Here, let me move the tripod a little bit there. There we go. Okay. As everyone knows, this past Saturday and Sunday was night 1 and 2 of WrestleMania. And I got to say, night 1 of this year's WrestleMania, I think was one of the most successful WrestleManias they have ever had. I'm not going to lie. I enjoyed it. And as you know from the past, if you followed me on Anchor and you followed me on Spotify or whatever and watched me, you know I've been very critical of WWE's product. Okay. How I felt that they could be better. And WrestleMania night 1 and 2, I think proves exactly my case, point blank, that WWE has a potential to be better because night 1 and night 2 of WrestleMania was fantastic in my opinion. Let's go back and look, shall we? We had I'm not going to name them in the order of the nights, but I'm going to go ahead and say this. We had Rhea Ripley versus Charlotte Flair. In my opinion, one of the better women's matches I've seen put on by WWE or any federation in a while. Okay. I thought it was great. Rhea Ripley is the new, I think it's SmackDown. Yes. Yes, SmackDown Women's Champion. Congratulations to her. I'm not going to go ahead and rank it a number. I'm not going to do that this time. In night 1, we also got to see The Miz get beat up by Pat McAfee and beat by Pat McAfee. Okay, which I always loved when The Miz is getting beat up anyway. Next, we had an Intercontinental title match, which is, in my opinion, one of the best matches on the whole on both WrestleMania nights, on night 1 and night 2 of WrestleMania. In my opinion, it was probably one of the best, if not the best match on any of those cards. It was great. The Intercontinental match was fantastic, and it proved why the Intercontinental title is what they call the working man's title. So Gunther retained his Intercontinental title against Sheamus and Drew McIntyre. Fantastic match. Absolutely loved it. Okay. We're going to get into more things. We had Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens going for the tag titles against the undisputed tag team titles against the Usos, who was holding a title reign of over 600 days. Okay, that is insane. I don't know how long it's been since we've had a title reign that reached close to 600 and some days. It's the same with Roman Reigns' world title reign, 900 and some days. I don't think we've had any title reigns that have lasted that long in a while. Okay, let's remember the longest reigning champion period that WWE has ever had was Bruno Sammartino at 2,000 and some days. Right? So you got Roman Reigns coming up to a 900 and some day reign as your undisputed world champion. And you had the Usos coming up on a 600 plus over 600 day reign as undisputed tag team champions. It was insane. I thought the Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens versus Usos tag team match was fantastic. I loved it. It kept my attention. Okay, WrestleMania was fantastic because I didn't feel like I had to go searching through my phone looking for things. It kept my attention. WWE used to actually do that a lot back. I'm gonna go say back in the day. Um, they used to keep my attention to where I didn't have to look at my phone, to where I didn't have to go through it and see what's on Google or what's on YouTube or Twitter or Instagram or Facebook. They used to be able to keep my attention. And that's what WrestleMania Night 1 and Night 2 did for me. Okay, now, like I said, I'm not going to do every uh, match on the card. I'm just giving a few examples, and now I'm going to go into other things. Now, let's remember, WrestleMania is big. And not just WrestleMania weekend's big, and not just for WrestleMania, but for like independent shows too, where they put on shows in California during WrestleMania week, or North Carolina puts on independent wrestling shows during WrestleMania weekend. Okay. So WrestleMania weekend's not just big for WWE, it's big for a lot of wrestling companies because you've got so many wrestling shows being put on during WrestleMania weekend. Night two, in night two, we got to see Miz once again get beat up. Shane shows up, which I was actually shocked by. And he goes and does a leapfrog over the Miz and tears his quad. I was like, oh my God, he tore his quad. So then Snoop Dogg picks up the slack, I guess you could say. Just like sucker punches the Miz twice, knocks him out, does the people's elbow, and gets a pinfall. Me and my wife were thinking, who did Miz piss off? Okay, who did he make angry? Yeah, who did Miz make angry? Okay, who did he make upset to get him to be treated like that? Because I just found it ironic. I've never liked the Miz really, but that is just on a whole nother level. It's like, who did he make angry, right? So we come across the main match, night two, that WrestleMania is built around, and it's Roman versus Cody. But before that, I don't want to forget that John Cena kicked off night one against Austin Theory. It wasn't a bad match. It wasn't one of the better ones that they had on the card. I'd say it was definitely maybe mid-range, maybe. That's my opinion. Somebody else may think it was one of the greatest matches that's been on the card. And I thought that, okay, it's the first match. It's the United States title. It's kicking off the show. Okay. I can see why it was on the show. Okay. It got you pumped. It got you all hyped up for what was to come next. But it wasn't top tier match level, basically. So yeah, there's that. Now, night two, before I get to Roman Reigns versus Cody, night two, we had we kicked off with Brock Lesnar versus Omos. Now, I'm not a huge Omos fan. I'm not really a huge Brock Lesnar fan either. Okay, back when I was still somewhat watching WWE, Omos came in. They built him as this giant that could decimate people, but he couldn't wrestle. In my opinion, he just couldn't. And he was sloppy in the ring and all. And that might be to the fact he's 7 foot tall. You're not gonna get a lot out of a big guy, right? He's gonna throw people around the ring, chop them on the head, um, maybe kick them and knock them down. But the point is, you're not going to get, in my opinion, you're not getting a lot out of a 7 foot tall, and so many inches giant. Okay, but we had Brock Lesnar versus Omos, and I thought that was one of the better Brock Lesnar matches I've seen. Period. One being because we didn't get 15,000 suplexes by Brock Lesnar. And Brock Lesnar was actually getting dominated, which was a shocker to me. I've never seen Brock Lesnar get dominated the way he was getting dominated inside the ring on night 2 of WrestleMania. But he came through. He pulled out the win. It made Omos look strong, and it made Brock Lesnar look even stronger. Even though and it also made him look vulnerable to a point too. But he was able to come back from that vulnerability and get the win. And I think it made both stars look good. Okay, it worked out for both of them in the long run. Okay, that was good. I actually quite enjoyed that match. Next, we had what else did we have? Let's go straight to the main event, shall we? The main event everybody was talking about has been raised. They're still talking about it on Twitter today. Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes. It was billed as Cody coming to finish the story. He was wrestling Roman, and he was going to get the title that his father was never able to hold throughout his entire career. It was a good match. It was fantastic. Roman did exactly what I thought Roman would do. He had his bloodline help him because he could not beat Cody on his own. And people talking about that. Here's a news slash, people. Roman Reigns is the heel. Okay. More often than not, the heels are never going to win the match clean. In the middle of the ring, they're not going to win it clean. Okay, they're going to do some dirty, underhanded tactics. And that's exactly what Roman did. Cody was doing good, fighting, persevering, overcoming all of the odds. And then we had at one point, Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens came down to help Cody because the Usos had gotten involved. And when they got rid of the Usos and they were gone, they had left, Cody goes to do 3 crossroads. And then Solo Sikoa comes from the fans, does the Samoan Spike right to the throat. Roman spears Cody, pins, gets a 1, 2, 3. Right there. I get a lot of fans are disappointed. I get they were upset. Okay, because they thought Cody was going to win. Do I think Cody is the guy to beat Roman Reigns and dethrone him? Yes, I do. Did I think that night that was going to be on WrestleMania? No, I didn't. It does build up a story, or it's supposed to, shall I say, and we can see where it goes from here. Now, I will say this, at the end of that match, there was a rubber chicken laying in the ring right near Cody. I still can't figure out who put the rubber chicken in the ring. whether it was thrown in or whether it was handed to someone and they put in. I don't know who put the rubber chicken in. I'm confused. That's the most confusing things. And there's been memes made out about that moment. Now, let's fast forward. Like I said, WrestleMania was fantastic. Great outing, great showing. It shows exactly what WWE is capable of, right? Right? Yeah. Let's go to Monday Night Raw, the night after WrestleMania, right? The night after WrestleMania. And what happens? Huh? What happened? Supposedly Raw, the Raw after WrestleMania is supposed to be the most exciting Raw. They're coming off the heels of WrestleMania, their most successful WrestleMania period. You think they have steam, momentum. But let's not forget. Let me backtrack a little bit. Let's not forget this. Earlier that day, that morning, it was announced that WWE had been sold to UFC's parent company. UFC's parent company would own 51% of WWE, while the shareholders would have 49%. Okay. So it was sold to UFC's parent company. So that broke. And then what do we get? What do we hear in an interview when they interviewed Vince and Ari Emanuel? Ari Emanuel's not going to have any say in the creative of WWE. And in my opinion, that's good, in my opinion. But then when they asked Vince, he's like, yes. He goes, yes and no. Yes, on a higher level. No, as in being down there in the weeds and thick of it in the weeds and all like he used to in the past. I still don't know what in the world that means. But he goes like, no, he can't do it that way. But on a higher level, yes. Let me explain to anybody who thinks Vince has no say in creative. When he says on a higher level, he means he has final say in what happens. I guess he's going to have Triple H do all the heavy lifting, all the work when it comes to creative. But ultimately, it's got to be ran through Vince. Vince has the final say in creative. So that means he's in charge of creative. I love it because I had a literal discussion about this night two of WrestleMania. Because people were so upset that Cody didn't win, they were going to go delete their WWE 2K23 off of their game, off their game consoles. They were going to boycott WWE or hijack SmackDown or whatever. You know, just how upset they are that Cody didn't win. And I kept saying, well, what do you expect? Vince is in charge of creative. And they're like, oh my gosh, Vince isn't in charge. I literally sat there and told them that if WWE is sold to UFC's parent company, Vince is going to try to find a way to be executive chairman and have some type of power in creative. And that's exactly what happened. I called it. It happened. Now, he tells us final say, he basically, without saying it in less words or whatever, says, is basically telling this guy, I have final say of what happens in creative. Now, now let's fast forward to that night of Raw. Supposed to be the biggest night of Raw ever. The night after WrestleMania, the Raw after WrestleMania is supposed to be one of the most exciting moments in WWE. Usually we have returns, we have title changes, we have whatever. Is that what we got? No. Instead, we get the first hour of Raw for commercial free, right? First hour of Raw commercial free. And we get what? Promo, 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 talking, promo. And then, in my opinion, Rey Mysterio against Austin Theory, in my opinion, a match that if I was Rey Mysterio, I would be ashamed to be in. And that's not because Rey Mysterio can't wrestle. It's not because Austin Theory can't wrestle. It's just the match is horrible. There's no direction in it. There was no direction. The promo leading to that match made no sense, in my opinion. It made no sense. Why did Austin Theory go after Ray? There was nothing to let us know that he was going to go after Ray. Nothing. No promo, no build up, no work. It was horrible. Then after that, we get more promos, more promos, more promos. Heck, we got a promo from Lita, Trish, and Becky Lynch. Congratulations on the win against Damage Control, by the way. But ultimately, we got maybe 3 matches, 2, if that. I think I have to go back and look. And usually you get a main event. What they had billed to was Cody wanted a rematch. And what did we get, huh? We got Cody in a tag team match against Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa. And his mystery partner was Brock Lesnar. Cody's mystery partner was Brock Lesnar. They come out, they're all ready to go, and then what happens, huh? Brock Lesnar blindsides Cody, lays waste to him, okay, and we're left with no main event. No main event. No. That Raw was horrible, and it's so beneath what WWE is capable of. They gave us WrestleMania Night 1 and 2, your most successful WrestleMania by far. And then you give us a very lackluster Raw, which was horrible. It was horrible. But as I said again, time and time and time again, I said it on Anchor before reformatting my podcast. This is what we get when Vince is in charge. And if anybody was questioning if Vince was in charge, again, I think it was laid to rest. Any doubt was laid to rest with that Raw. Now, I might be wrong, and it might not be Vince. It may have been Triple H. All the writers may have had a very off night. I don't know. But the fact that they gave us a great WrestleMania, great Night 1 and Night 2 WrestleMania, and then gave us a lackluster Raw, it's pathetic. It is, and it's not what WWE is capable of. I've been very critical of WWE, but WWE is capable of so much more. They are top tier talent. They have great talent, fantastic talent. You have people who should be in a main event spotlight. You have all of those. Heck, they got LA Knight. I get Bray Wyatt is out, sick, or whatever. I get Randy Orton's out, recovering from fusion surgery on his back, on his lower back. I get it. But you have so much talent that you can use to their full potential, and you gave us what you gave us on Monday. Pathetic. Now, that being said, WrestleMania had the WrestleMania weekend was big, starting on Friday and so forth and so on. Congratulations to all the people who got inducted into the Hall of Fame, into the WWE Hall of Fame. Congratulations, work well done. But we also had Ring of Honor, Fight for Honor, Supercard, whatever they call it. And I feel bad because Dante Martin got his ankle broke during that. It was horrible. I seen the video. I wish Dante Martin a speedy recovery. We also saw in WrestleMania Edge versus Finn Balor, the Demon Finn Balor. And in that match, Edge throws a ladder and it catches Finn Balor on the head. He's bleeding. We weren't sure how bad it was until we saw the pictures. He needed to have 14 staples put in his head. And he finished the match. Finn Balor had some staples put in his head while the match was going on, and he still finished the match. It was fantastic. It was great. Then he went into the back, got cleaned up. They put 14 staples in his head. And now I'm guessing Finn Balor's going to go and rest now, take some time off to let his head heal. I don't know. We also got Dynamite. Let's fast forward to Dynamite now, shall we? AEW Dynamite. We had it was okay. It was decent. The match I was really looking forward to was the FTR versus the Guns tag team match. It was titles versus career. Guns did everything they could to get disqualified because they knew if they got disqualified, they retained their titles, and FTR would have to leave AEW because they had went and said that if they didn't win the titles, they would leave AEW. They pulled out the FTR. Guns did everything they could to try to get disqualified. Yet FTR still pulled the win out. Fantastic. 2-time AEW tag team champions. Long time coming. Now, hopefully, they have an even better reign than they did when they were first AEW tag team champions. I can't wait. The thing that really surprised me was, not surprised me, but I quite enjoyed, was the Matt Hardy, Ethan Page angle. I've watched Elevation Dark, so I've seen it building up. If you haven't watched Elevation Dark, you might have been confused. But for months, they've been building up to this. Matt's been working on an angle, I guess, to get him and Private Party out of the contracts of Ethan Page and Stokely Hathaway, I guess. And it all paid off on Dynamite. I thought that was fantastic. We saw Jay White debut in AEW. He is now all elite. He didn't debut in AEW, but he's now all elite. I think his that angle could have been worked a little differently, just my opinion. But no. I don't know. I don't know what to say about WWE. I don't. I've been very critical. I do wish WWE the best, nothing but the best, because I don't want to see them go out of business. I don't want to see one person own all of WWE, own all of wrestling. We've seen that done in the States. We've seen it done over here, where Vince owned WCW and WWE, and when you have no competition, you can't get better. You become stale and stagnant, right? You become complacent, and complacency is the enemy of progress. Now, I want to go ahead, and this is a different teachable moment. I want to go ahead and do a teachable moment before I let y'all go. Before I end this teachable moment, this episode of the Teachable Moment podcast. There's a lot of hate going around lately in the world. on social media and whatever. Anti-Semitism, and there's a hashtag going around called "Stand Up to Jew Hate." Okay, there's a saying that we have called, "If we don't learn from history, we are doomed to repeat it." There are now people going around saying the Holocaust never happened. Yeah, this is going to get a little serious, so bear with me. The Holocaust was a horrible time in our history. Horrible time in our history. Lots. I can't exactly remember the number right off the bat, but lots, countless numbers of Jews were sent to detention camps to work. Okay. They weren't getting paid. They got very little food. And in these detention camps, they were told they were work camps. And what they were detention camps. Just an excuse to beat, torture, just do horrible things to Jews just because they were Jewish. Auschwitz, a horrible camp where a lot of Jews died. Actually, all of the camps, a lot of Jews died. It's horrible. Auschwitz is really famous for it too. These Nazis would line up Jews, beat them, take them to gas chambers, gas them, kill them. A lot of kids never saw their parents again, ever. The kids who did survive and the adults that did survive, the adults and kids that did survive, they were plagued with traumatic memories, nightmares, horrible visions. Every time they closed, I can only imagine that every time they closed their eyes, they probably relived it. They probably didn't get a night's worth of good sleep for years. Took them years to come to terms with what had happened. It's horrible. They went through a lot just because they were Jewish, and it's horrible. And I see a lot of anti-Semitism coming, being brought on social media. See, back then, they didn't have the technology. They voiced their hate. They showed their hate by beating and abusing and voicing their displeasure for Jewish people. Now we live in the day of social media where now people won't come out and just say how they feel. They want to type it online. They want to hide behind their keyboards and the computer screens and their cell phones and spew venom and vitriol, I guess you can say it. Venom and hate and horrible stuff to people. We live in social media. See, social media can be great and it can be bad. Same time, see, I get it. I'm the bad guy in wrestling, and it might sound hypocritical, but there are certain lines I won't even cross. Okay. People, there is a thing, like I said before, if we do not learn from history, we are doomed to repeat it. We need to learn from our past, or else we then become on a precipice. We're on that precipice right now where we can either step forward, fall off the edge, and go back years and years back into the hate, people being killed, people being beat, people being discriminated against because they're either black, they're white, they're Italian, they're Asian, they're Mexican, they're Jewish. We're mark my words, people. We have to learn from our past, or we end up back at square one. Yeah, that's the teachable moment. I guess that's the teachable moment right there. If we do not learn from history, we are doomed to repeat it. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Teachable Moments podcast, newly revised Teachable Moments podcast. I'm going to try to get back to bringing people back online, back onto my episodes to interview them, to talk and whatever. But also, I'm also going to have episodes where I just talk to y'all and review things and don't have guests on. So hopefully I can start putting out more frequent episodes. And I'll take a little bit of a break. I'm going to try to put out more frequent episodes. If all goes well, we'll be back next week for another episode of the Teachable Moments podcast. And until next time, I'm the Mass Menace, and I'm out.